Welcome, everybody. My name is Michael Camone, Director of Content for T3 Live. I'm here with my good buddies, Scott Redler and David Prince, to tell us what is going on in the market. We have the silver squeeze is still on. Looks like we're not taking over Greenland. Earnings season is heating up. So, boys, how's everybody doing today? What's going on in the market today?
I know I'm doing great. I'm the guest, so I'll let Scott begin. But
what do you mean you're the guest? We're like on equal billing here. Are you kidding me?
All right, let's go. I mean, all I know is it's a good day, but today's different. I'll tell you that. It's a little reversion to the mean to keep people awake and say it's not just about small caps. So no doubt today is a clear signal that, hey, if big cap tech is okay, alive and well, then the Qs can outperform again. There's clearly been amazing outperformance from IWM, small caps, XBI. And today it's like you don't have to really understand the market because the answers are all there. XBI is down, IWM's down significantly, I might add. Qs are up, big cap tech's up, Meta, second day of a breakout, Microsoft, even software day two. So there's a little bit of a reversion to the mean type trade going into next week's earnings, which will really decide if there's more to it.
Yes, and if you, Banky, put up the chart, because we're all a bunch of chartists right here, some people like, how could you have seen that reversion of the mean is going to happen? If you look yesterday at the IWM, look at this little topping tail. It's like you could go through all these little, like on the weekends we post, the chart patterns, bar by bar analysis, the whole 9 yards, and look at this topping tail and look where the 8-day was. So people are like, oh my God, how did this happen? You look at the size of the move that the IWM just had to a topping tail, which should have you reduce anyway, right? Because if you're extended from the 8-day, multiple days, you use your day count rule. And all we did, like, is it over? All we did is come back to the 8-day. So with that being said, that's what has been happening so far in 2026, where every few days you get, you have some strong trends, but you do get a little reversion of the mean and this and that. And on Wednesday, you had some strength in some of the names that David just said. Like Meta, first day woke up. Tesla finally actually took back a prior day. So there was some clues on Wednesday that maybe mega cap tech, which has kind of been shitty, excuse my French, or the Mag 7, so you go now to Meta, because I know that, Prince's room killed it in Meta. A three-day trade. A lot of my guys, we both have rooms, and they share both rooms. They just use both, so which is great. Well, more power to T3. They get to make money on both rooms. But bottom line is, this candle was different than many others, right? So this was the day it held above Tuesday's low, traded in here. So it said, hey, maybe Meta is worth a trade. It doesn't mean it's going to be the new all-time high, go crazy with it, but this day said, hey, at least you can get this. And then it wasn't rejected into the moving averages. It pushed through, so it showed some power. I didn't catch Meta. I actually caught Tesla really well. Thank goodness. I needed a good day in Tesla. It also, for the first time in a while, besides, this little red dog reversal here, if you remember, which got rejected, this actually wound up, taking back a prior day, filled the gap, and showed like it could at least contribute and participate. And then, yesterday you had some really good action where you could have even bought a dip. I know I bought options yesterday. I bought stock yesterday. I sold my options into strength. I'm still in actual stock. So some people are like, hey, Red Dog, now, does this mean that Tesla's back? I'm like, well, it wasn't like when it looked like it was going to go through 500 and that you had a reversal there, which, ended that move in December. But at least now you're like, hey, sometimes you get a 3-day move, and sometimes a 3-day move could turn into a 3-week move. So the question is, how do you know? Well, I would think now that, if Tesla could hold above whatever this was today, which was 444, okay, or even a little bit lower, maybe it continues to show commitment, and then all of a sudden gives you another trade, which this is now 449. That was before. So today's high is 452. And now you just measure, you measure the situation. So now you had a 3-day move. Now the question is, does it go sideways and continue? And by the way, Dave, I think somebody said that Cranky Ricky caught a really nice lotto trade on the 450 Tesla calls this morning, but you had to take them off, and that's what traders do.
Yep. So I actually want to say one thing about all this is what Scott's saying is right. None of these are necessarily in play per se for the long term yet, right? But they're leadership stocks. And when they finally rally, there's usually 2 or 3 days, and it's vicious. And I think that's what we both recognize, and there's money to be made. And I was just teaching my chat something, and I really believe in this trade. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, but they probably think it, but don't say it out loud. Day 2 of a rally you can count on, like a breakout rally, is easier to trade than day 1 because you have a bona fide map that they already created from day 1. And that's like why Meta today, the reason we did it is I said on my AM call, I said, day 2, I'm going to size more than I would day 1 because it already broke out. I don't have to guess. They did that work for me. So if it dips, not a chase. So if it dips off the open, I'll actually size more than I would have yesterday. And that's what we're seeing with a little bit. Tesla yesterday told us, right? Now, do you chase these? Nah, that's like, especially with options, you get killed. But if you get that pullback day 2, now, as to what Scott said, it's all up to earnings. Now I'll have to see, like, is there actual leadership again? These are just fun plays. And you could have done it like, you want to see a stock I made a lot of money in today? It's totally ugly as hell. Punch up Spotify. Can you do this on demand?
I could do it.
Okay.
I'll be your guy. Let me be your clerk.
You ever seen something so ugly in your life?
No.
But I keep recognizing these bottoming patterns where they have like 2 or 3 powerful days. And there was a Goldman Sachs upgrade last night, right? It's Goldman. It was a powerful upgrade. So I'm like, oh, this could be like a Meta where it just keeps going. I got to take a shot. So pre-market at 508, and we had a pullback off the open at 508. We bought it. And every time it went to 515, 516, I sold it. But I said, take a look at that chart. It gets over that little 10-day. This thing could go up another $20.
So you're thinking this? You're thinking this can go to 538 on a broken bounce. This is called a very, very broken bounce, but or trash for treasure, where the trend sucks.
It doesn't look good.
But time and place.
We're working with what the market's giving us, but we'll find out through earnings if there's really more to these. Spotify.
So you're saying you made a ton of money in this little green candle right here?
No, not a ton. I made a ton of points. I made 508 to 515, 516. In fact, it's Spotify. We couldn't buy a lot because it's not liquid enough. I think we were half the volume. But what I'm saying is you can play these bounces pretty aggressively, even if they're not in leadership positions. Spotify, let's not focus there. It was just a cute idea because Goldman upgraded it. Meta, Tesla, definitely much more liquid and easier to trade. By the way, did the same thing with BM&R today. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
Came into 28. Just said, let's buy it. Now, is it a great stock here? No, but it pulled back to a level we liked. We bought it at 28. It bounced to 29.70 or something. And I think that's all I'm seeing over and over again in a bunch of non-leadership stocks. Obviously, Micron and SanDisk are very different.
Right. So you're basically you're surgically making money in a lot of these names, and you're saying you could still make them in broken names because, to be honest, there's not that many names you could buy high and sell higher. It's just not happening.
Wants to buy Micron at highs every day, and then we're shorting, the overbought ones. I also want to mention something Scott said. I'm using the 8-day all the time now. Like I shorted Micron for 1 day, about 20 points this week off an open, and then we made about 25 or 30 yesterday. And it was simply measuring how far it was from the 8-day, right? Kind of like what he said about IWM, except you have to be cognizant. The RSI on a SanDisk can go much higher than IWM. So I just keep using the 8-day to guide me because we are, in some areas, really ugly, and in some areas, really overbought.
Right, like not every chart's going to look like this, where you have like APLD, which is a gorgeous looking chart that, the dips have been bought, consolidating here. Looks like it's ready to take a new all-time high. Even with the market the way it is, it's hard to find stocks that look like this.
Let me give you one, because you're the expert chartist. Punch up. We went really kind of aggressive with this. I got excited yesterday. ENPH. I'm scared to say the symbol because it's been a loser for so long.
Yeah. This is what is this? A solar stock?
It used to be one of the leading solar stocks. That really has been a disaster for 2 years. It closed over its 200-day for the first time in like 2 years yesterday.
So you use the SMA? Because I use the EMA because there's the 200-day right there.
Yeah, I never use EMA.
Okay, everyone just uses their gauge. So think about it. He said that but by the way, this does not look like APLD. APLD is at the highs, ready to.
Oh my God, no! It looks like a comeback story. APLD is leadership position.
Exactly. This is a name that gave you a nice. This was a gap and go and hit the EMA 200-day, where first time you hit it, usually you get rejected, and then you see how it hangs out and goes. But yeah, you have to like talked about this. It's called bar by bar analysis. You have to know what a candle means. Especially depending where it is in the chart. Is it a bottom candle? Is it igniting candle? Is it a day one? Michael, do you have the day count rules? Like, that's something I think that Dave was kind of mentioning. Like, you have a day count rule. So if you see a day one in a stock, usually there's a way to manage that for 5 days, where if you have a day one on huge volume, you might get in there, and sometimes you just get follow through and you trim some, or sometimes it opens a little bit lower. You could buy it, add to it, and then day two, you buy in the whole, takes out the higher day one, goes to day two, goes higher, and then you sell a little bit day three, and it's a 5-day sequence. You could do that kind of day count rule on anything. It doesn't have to be a leadership stock. It could be, a name that's just coming off lows, trying to see the 200 days. So this is the day count rules. I think everybody should kind of, print this out. Where it starts to move. Like, some people, like, how does an active sequence start? Sometimes it starts with a gap up, you hold the gap, you go sideways, and it continues. Sometimes you get a day one on heavy volume, and then it continues. So these are like old school. I think.
Who the hell remembers Juno?
Oh,
this is from way back, but
yeah.
Who remembers Juno?
I vaguely do.
Well, the funny thing with something
right.
like that. So you know what? Let's go to something a little more current, like Netflix. Okay, so Netflix, right? Post earnings, I think we all were saying it's 38% off highs. You were able to buy it after the print the day after, right? So then we're like, okay, so this is your day one. So 81.93 is the low. That's your out. So yesterday it kind of was weaker. It was an inside day, kind of threw you off. You could have bought more on day two, because it didn't break the low of day one of a potential reversal. And then today, it had a nice strong day. You could have added, to it above this little spot to fill the gap. And that's just like a little bit of a combo play on a name that's been battered and bruised, where as an active day trader, you can make money and not even have a thesis on it, but just know how, you could use different kinds of strategies based on charts.
Can we put up my baby? It's 26 right now. Why don't you chart that one for us?
IMNM?
Yeah.
Well, look at this. So this could be like a case study, because you have someone like DP that does a deep dive in all these names, knows the management, knows the data, knows what's supposed to come out, know who owns it. And then you have technicians that could frame the trades based on, the actual movement of it, not knowing all that kind of stuff. But then you could either be an institution accumulating it, or you could be a trader involved, right? So he was just saying, look where it is on the weekly chart. Like, if you look at the weekly chart, like some institutions are buying the hell out of it here because they know everything that's going on, and then you have traders that could have just bought it right here, and it's been above the 8-day ever since, and now it looks like it's on its way to 27.50. And now I'm sure Dave could tell you everything there is to know about this stock, and he probably has 5 times the amount of size as a trader, because he has the conviction and has the wherewithal of it. And then as a trader, we just trade the price action. But if you can learn a little bit about what's going on and use the price action, then that's how you size up and make a lot more money than just a cash flow trade.
What do we think about earnings next week?
So you want to talk about IMNM? Because I know.
No, I don't want to. Whatever you guys want. I think you wanted to talk earnings next week, but whatever you guys want.
Yeah, I'll throw a question. I'll throw a question out to both of you guys. Do either of you even care about Apple next week? Because it seems like it's fallen out of the conversation.
So speaking for me, I do. I'll tell you why. Because it's a clear setup that potentially might be to the upside. There is this, hey, memory is so expensive, it's going to kill margins, and there's nothing left, and it trades at an elevated PE, especially versus the market 30 times, and they miss, AI. But then it was new highs just recently, right? And before the whole memory is going to hurt their business, it was at new highs, and they're not wasting money on AI, like say maybe Zuckerberg was when Meta was back down at 600. So my point is, if sales are good, and everyone thinks it was a blockbuster quarter for iPhone sales, and if services is good, and if they hedged out memory then Apple might be a great trade to the upside. I'm not smart enough to know if they manage memory ahead of time and if this is the case. But if they say memory is not, it's only so many basis points, it's not killing our quarter and we don't have to worry about the future, I care about it because that might be where I'm constantly right now in a market that's expensive. I'm looking for where's their alpha? Like, where is it not priced in, right? But I don't feel like I'm chasing. I'm curious what Scott thinks. It hit that 244, right? That obvious level everyone was looking at. I actually bought calls there. It bounced. I sold them. But the point is, it might have some upside to it because it did have a correction. I don't know. I'll probably play calls on the print. I have some left over. What do you think?
Yeah. So what are you doing with it? Are you buying now for options for next Friday? Because it's not till Thursday. It's the 29th.
Right. So here's what I did. When it hit, I had 11, right? I was like, here's
a chart, by the way. It's right here.
Okay.
So if you want to put up the chart,
no. So
there's the 200-day right there.
So remember that pivot at 244 everyone saw from like October, right?
Yeah.
And it went right below like 243. So about I don't know. I'm getting old. I can't remember. So a few days ago, I said, listen, I'm starting to buy Apple. It's like 250, 249. I'm never exact. So I'm going to buy a little bit here, but I'm going to lay into some decent sized calls if we get to 244. It's a very obvious pivot. The RSI on Apple was 17. I said, guys, I'm old. Been around a lot of years. When Apple gets to 17 RSI, unless it's COVID or the world's ending or financial crisis, it bounces, right? Because it's predictable cash flow. So we can probably buy it. So we bought a lot of size into there, but frankly, it's kind of broken, right? It needs earnings to change things. And into just the other day when these calls went from like a low of 250 to like 450, I sold 80% of them and I have some left over for earnings. So that's how I'm playing. I have the 255s for next.
You made 80% on calls with the stock.
No, because I started early. I wish I did. I started at an average cost of say like 320. They were down to like 250. So no. And then they went to 440. And I always look at my risk. I'm like, these things were down to 250. I'm lucky to be up anything. So no, I didn't make it. They went up 80% that day because I got lucky. But no, my average cost was higher because I scaled in too high. So we took most off, and now I'll
which strike do you have for earnings for next Friday?
Next week.
What?
255s.
So you have the 255. So you're thinking that
you need a big win. They're not like if I were to go back into it, right? I would actually choose a lower strike, I think, because you kind of need a home run on the 255s now.
Well, you could still buy the day before and like roll them down and buy different ones. It's a different trade.
Scott and I both know there's so much erosion, especially into a weekend, that a lot of times it's better off to kind of figure out where it is the day or two before rather than having, unless you really feel it's going to,
Well, sometimes they do a pre-earnings run. So this could be, back to the 8th day at 252 before the print. So you need to get in early. So, that's not always at the dead lows prior to the print. So
everyone does that on Snap and then it tanks afterwards.
It does. Don't remind me of that. I think I'm like 2 for 14 in the Snap.
I've done the same thing, but you sell. I'm selling 50% now, and I'll play with the rest. I make 100%, and then I lose 100% on the other 50 every time.
Yeah. No, I like it. Like this is the type of name that's better than feared. It should react very well. Then who knows? Maybe it starts a better trend. So I do like that also. I actually you want to talk, everyone likes to talk about how much money they make. Well, I lost money in Apple today. I actually came in and I was ready for a rock star day and I'm having a good day, but like I was like, Amazon looks like it's going to play catch up to Meta and Tesla. I want to focus on Meta. And then somebody's like, well, look, Apple's only down 50 cents. They're probably going to strike it at 250. I'm like, yeah. So I started buying Apple. And literally went down $3 in the first 20 minutes. I'm like, what the hell is this thing doing?
Right.
So
I salvaged the trade. I get it.
Yeah, so I salvaged the trade. I got out of the way, and it's fine. But I was like,
Speaking of Amazon, I'm much more excited into the print. That's where I own stock, and I'm very bullish. I've sized down a bit because I don't need to be too sized into it, but still trading. If you look at the math, Amazon over the past 5 years is up 20%. Just rough numbers. It's up 20% in 5 years. It is producing more cash flow than ever before and has never traded at this valuation. Now, granted, it's a more mature company. They don't price in the same growth rates. AWS is kicking butt, and there's a really strong note from Walt today on AWS. They raised their numbers. I don't
No,
feel
I
like
like it
the
too. I think
upside's
what
priced in.
they got to do with Amazon is, Buffett has been a net buyer. In the the new guys, they got to go to up to Jeff and say, hey, could we just take you out of a
Seriously.
big portion of your stock? Because every time this is a blowout quarter, for the 3 days afterwards, he's selling millions and millions of shares. Not because he doesn't like it; it's because he owns 18% of the float between him and McKenzie.
I made a joke to Inner Circle, and I should have made it to your group too. We should all put together a block and buy like 1% of the shares he has to sell. I'm teasing, but
but
it's a pain
someone,
in the
some
butt.
real fun should do it. Some real fun that's
It's
in
a
there.
constant
Say,
pain in
hey,
the butt.
let's do a secondary. Let's take you out of your shares so you could do all your space ambitions and let the stock play catch up to the rest of the names, because it's been held down because when you're an original CEO of a company like Amazon, you own tons and tons and tons. Like you're in the private market, you've made so much money on private stock. He's got so much of it, so he has to sell into the good news, and then 3 days later traders move on, and then it loses the momentum, and it kind of sucks.
All right, but you agree, like chart shaping up definitely feels like that could be a good shot into next week.
Yeah, like if you go to like here, the monthly chart of Amazon, you go to the monthly chart, it's still trending higher. You can't be so upset.
It's not Google-like, obviously, but
yeah. So that's the monthly chart of Amazon. So it's been trending, but it's not like crazy. You look at like a chart, the bike, right? Yeah, like just look a little.
I always say, like, I wish it looked like
yeah. Look at Google. Look at the difference of Google. Google is just nuts. And then even Microsoft, besides recently, actually Microsoft came in a bunch too. That should be interesting.
Microsoft was just like the meta trade. There were a couple stocks left for dead that are leadership stock with lots of cash flow in the last 2 days. There was money to be made in them. Now it's up to earnings.
Yes, I concur.
Hey,
all right,
Scott,
Mikey, what do you want us to go to?
I have one question that is probably topical. Intel, 21 day, which I know you like. 43s. Will you take a stab or no?
No, it's going to need time to repair. Like, look at the size of the hole since earnings. They baited every single person into this stock, into numbers. I played this a bunch of times down here. I'm not going to lie, I didn't play this last part.
So did I. I just sold it for like $4 like an idiot.
But yeah. But this is a spot. It's just going to take time. Like their foundry business, they don't have new clients. They're
not announcing any new clients. Yeah. But okay, I was curious.
But from 54 to 44. It makes sense. But this is when we made a lot of money here. I remember we were buying in here, and then I think I played the sequence to there, and I just got away from it. But ultimately, I guess we'll see in the next few days where the low is, and it's a spot. But I don't think anyone is like, I'm missing out on the next year and a half.
I don't think you have to rush into it. I agree. I actually said the first time it touches, there'll probably be a cute trade there for $1 or $2. And then, like you said, it needs to sit, repair, and it'll take.
It's a good spot, though. According to the chart, that's definitely a spot. I concur.
Michael, back to you. Sorry about that. I don't hear
him either.
We don't hear you, brother.
Michael. All right, so we could continue to talk. So maybe there's a trade into that gap. Maybe there's a red dog reversal in the next day or so. Once it gives you a little bit of price discovery. Hey, Michael, we can't hear you.
Since we're talking about charts, and I'm more of a big cap guy, I keep finding these little stocks. This one, my partner did the deal, so I've been following it since it's $1. Take a look at ASPI.
I've heard this name.
We bought it yesterday.
Yeah, it looks like it's like an active sequence off the lows. You had a
nice, like, cute little chart.
Decent gap up, kind of held it.
I mean, it's not a quality name, big short in it, but just another. I thought I'm putting up stuff that I know you might find the chart.
Well, let me ask you a question. What do you think about? I'm going to bring you to MSOS there.
Okay. No, and for good reason. So I actually bought it. Here's what I think, and Scott knows. So I financed some of the larger companies in the industry. I looked like a genius early on, and now I'm sitting on a private waiting to go public, hopefully this year.
So am I.
It's one of the biggest in the industry, by the way. It's a comp to GrowGen. It's actually profitable, but it's been a pain in the neck. Here's what I want to say. I think everyone that's left right? And this isn't talking my book. I just think it's really this simple. Everyone that's left has a good balance sheet. And these are companies that actually will earn SHIT lot of money the minute they are able to deduct anything like rent, employees. It's an unbelievable. I mean, they're going to go from earning nothing to like hundreds of percent more. And they're going to, all the key guys, the green thumbs, the Veranos, they're going to spend lots of money because finally there'll be a reason to. So I looked at it and I'm like, the risk is out of it. It's a boring wait, but every time it gets to 450 this year, I've been buying. But I'm not going to BS you. It went to 495. I sold a little bit because I'm like, I don't know when it goes, but I truly feel, in fact, let's go back and embarrass me. I'm very confident this year. MSOS is $7 or $8 in a bad scenario. I just believe it's been sold out. Everyone that's left are solid balance sheet companies. Plenty are going to still go out of business, but most of the guys that are around now, the dynamics, so people understand, are still that cannabis use is not what everyone thought, right? Anyone who pretends differently is lying. It is not what people thought. The black market in places like New York still are killing the industry. But as they attack those things, everyone that's left is going to make a lot of money, and institutions are finally going to be able to buy some of these guys once it's legal for them to, and it'll change the game. These institutions actually like to buy very profitable companies trading at like, minuscule valuation. So I think it's a waiting game. If you don't mind sitting on something for 6-7 months that can go up 50, 100%, one of my favorite picks this year. It's not active. It's not something I talk about.
Well, are you in the ETF or you're in options?
I'm in MSOS. No, the stock. I don't need, because all that erosion, so it's a pain in the neck. So I just keep buying the stock.
Okay, I'm in the stock and I own a lot of February and March calls. Like mutual friend who's the hammer in this sector, who's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. I'm not going to say his name.
How does he feel about it right now?
He thinks that Trump's going to come out now that this whole Europe thing is over, and he's going to start really a lot of banter in the next week or two about safe banking, about the U.S. making money off of cannabis and da-da-da-da.
I was about to say, everyone I talk to believes there's like a big opening that he'll want to take advantage of. Like the government can actually make a lot of money on this, right?
Yeah, well, he's been obviously a little sidetracked this week.
For good reason, right?
Yeah. So I'm he was telling me by the end of January, which I never believe anyone on that timeline. So I bought February and March 6s and 7s just because I can't never have enough of the MSOS because it'll annoy me when it's lower in the P&L. So if I just buy a few hundred 100 contracts or 1,000 contracts at 30 cents, either I'm going to lose or I'm going to make. So I was telling people just go out to March and buy the $7, and if it's there, you're going to make a lot of money. If it does,
I did the same thing, buy a stock and just said, I'm not going to even look at it with my P&L. I just put it on invisible. Every time it goes up 40, 50 cents, I sell a few thousand, that type of thing. But I really think it's going to be a surprising one this year. That's
so let's move on. It looks like a lot of people want. So what's been making me money now is I keep buying dips in iron. This stock has been unbelievable. Yesterday, what I've learned to do is I used to love to buy stocks high and sell them higher, and I've been having a hard time finding names that do that. So lately, there's been names that trend, but you have to like buy them ugly, like DP would say. So like yesterday, I was buying a ton of iron calls. So I'm like, what? Every time it pulls in, if you buy the calls and roll them up to this strike, you get paid here.
That's a big win today.
So yeah, this is we're killing it right now in this one today. I did the same thing with Rocket Labs yesterday. Rocket Labs was down because one of their spaceships blew up, and some people that do a deep dive like, no, they just wanted to test what would happen at certain temperatures. So it was done on purpose. So yesterday we were buying that, but right here, this looks like, look at this. This is 50. So this is 58.75. So you have two different types of trades. And one of them is the, buy a dip, use options. If you had I had the $50 calls into here, I sold them. And then into here, I went to the 57s. So now on the 57s, now you have a momentum trade, gets above here, you trim some, and then it comes back in, and then you keep going. I don't think 75 is going to be the high of the year for iron. I just don't. I remember.
You think it's going to take it out? Wow.
I think it'll take it out this year. I remember when we did this with Oklo, when we had the first move on Oklo from 10 to 60, it went through a rebuild phase. Everyone like they're not going to have revenue for so long. It went to 190. This stock has enough people behind it that this thing.
I was about to say, it has an army. Like if one stock has a cult group of believers out of the whole NeoCloud group, it would certainly be Iron. Yeah, they all have believers, APLD, MBIS, everyone, and they're all a bit different, but Iron certainly has its believers. I killed it in Iron, except this last go round totally screwed up and haven't been a part of it. So congrats.
I still think there's time. Like this is just I would usually never be in this part of the move, and then like, oh, now I could buy it through 58.75 instead of buying it into here. Two different trades.
On almost everything I'm doing recently is exactly as you mentioned. It's leadership stocks with decent charts on dips, kind of what we talked about with Meta today, right? Except doing it with leaders that are trending higher, and that's the market we're in.
And this was Rocket Labs. So Rocket Labs yesterday, it was down 5. I was buying options in the hole because if I buy stock, I don't like to. I use stops. When I buy options, I'm like, let me just buy. I'll buy X amount worth. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And then today sold over half of it into this push. And now still.
Sorry, no, I think you'll like this one. Have you traded Figure yet? Great little company.
Yeah, guys were buying this yesterday.
Okay, I bought that and I grabbed a decent amount today. Because you see that breakout level? You see that, right? 59 and change.
You talking about FIGR or FI?
Yeah, FIGR.
This, what do you, oh, you mean the old right here? Yeah, that's a nice spot.
So I said, listen, if we lose the 10-day, we'll come back into that breakout area. It is a profitable company. It's a new IPO. It has set itself apart from everyone else. Huge TAM in the mortgage business. And I'm like, everyone missed that run to 78. So the first thing I did today, well, one of the first things was buy FIGR at like 61 bucks. It's that same concept. It's been a total leadership stock.
Yeah, and it's 4 down days into the prior breakout area. It's a perfect spot. That's a great trade. And now maybe it goes sideways, and then all of a sudden your next trade will be when it takes out this high and works its way back hopefully towards this area. So
but if you look at that chart, it's exactly what you're saying. Leadership stocks into viable areas, just not chasing. Anyone who chased FIGR the past week or so is probably sold it to me, right?
Well, yeah, like we could have like in this this is your buyable spot. Day one, you got paid on day 2. If you had any left over, you're able to sell day 3, and then maybe you're holding a little bit, and then you're rebuying right there. Within your head, maybe, hey, I might have to go to here, but you didn't have to, so that's good. That is good. This has been good. FIGR. Going one last thing, going back to Iron, because we like to trade groups. The other name in this group that guys trade is CIFR.
Yeah, I was in that.
It's still rebuilding. I bought some today. So
that's a bit tighter. Like, do you feel like that might actually have more upside in chart wise, forgetting the company? Do you notice like it's just more congested? Like it might be ready to play some catch up? Because that's what I've been noticing.
Yeah, no, this is in rebuild the same way. It broke down and it's taking its time, and chances are, if Iron works its way back to 60s, this thing will be at 21 in a heartbeat, which is next, and then you have all that room above. But yeah, this has been going side. It's choppy as hell. Like you paid up a few times here, you're not in great shape. But here,
what's leading the group right now? It's a name I only know because we did a deal with them. Is HUT. Take a look at that chart.
Yeah. Wow, still acting really well.
Yeah. So I trade the group, but HUT's really, really strong. I have a question.
I just real quickly while you're talking about HUT. So today, the first time in a while that I did it, I bought IBIT, $55 calls. Just this was the prior high, which was like 55. This was 98. That's a 200-day. The whatever bill they're looking to work on for crypto got pushed out to early March. So I bought the March 20s just in case the metals hit a high and money comes into crypto. I don't feel like trading this. It's been a pain in the ass. I'm just going to go and say, hey, maybe it takes out this high and has a real move. So I bought the 55s for $1.70 today just to have a little bit of crypto on. So if it starts acting better, it's a lot more fun when Bitcoin's acting well, because then you could play a lot of the miners. You could play BMNR. You could play Mister. There's a whole big, great group of stocks that act well that have been acting like shit, excuse my French, because Bitcoin is just still doing absolutely nothing. But
I feel
if
like
you,
it's rotation over and over. So what you did with IBIT is what I did with BMNR. I'm like, okay, they don't like it today. Maybe when some stocks take a break tomorrow, but it turned out BMNR turned, Bitcoin turned. So, Bitcoin stuck like 88, 90,000, and Ethereum just follows it along, and thus BMNR. BMNR, I happen to like the story these days. But the point is that I notice right now we're in such a back and forth market that there's always something to do. There's not a lot of trending. Like iron's one of the few that recently shows a strong trend that you just keep buying. But
right.
otherwise, there's always something cute to do, is what I'm finding. They
Right.
keep
There's
switching.
cute, but you have to take, there's cute range trades. There's not a lot of like trending, buy a dip, make higher highs. Like ASTS was that. ASTS is not a lot of stocks like ASTS that you could have been a buyer at 78, sold some, bought some, sold some, bought some. And now looks like it's creating another bull flag up here where it's above the 8-day where, maybe there's a move through 121, the same way we caught that move through 102. That was a big winner for us like a week ago. But yeah, you don't get a lot of this. You're getting more, buy in the hole, looks for a bottom, get day 2, day 3, then move on. Where is it rotating? And, those type of markets are tricky because,
I think you just have to know the climate and say, hey, I'm a trader here, less of a swing investor, or maybe 2-day, swing investor. There's not a lot of like put away for the next few weeks or months trades here. That woke up today, I noticed. Will that 200-day hold?
You mean be rejected? Yeah, a lot of people talk like, yeah, hood still, but again, this is doing absolutely friggin' nothing. This is a broken
Like today
stock.
might be just a cute day to trade, and it might still turn over. I don't know.
Yeah,
I sold it like 115, 120. I wrote it from like 32, and I finally said enough's enough because it looks like it's just
well,
ready to really turn over. So I have nothing now.
yeah. Well, you don't get a lot of this anymore. Like last year, this was a great,
Yeah,
great, great,
it was
great
actually
trend.
very easy to hold. I
Yeah,
finally learned to hold a stock more than a couple of months. It was a fun run.
yeah. Now it's just like, is it going to hold this 200-day? And I don't know.
Scott, I have a good group that is turning over, and I'm curious if you think they're going to be buyable. I think there's maybe more downside. Financials, Goldman broke the 21-day.
Yeah, yeah. No,
APM's coming into the 200, and I don't even know if they're buyable yet because they've led for so long. I think they might need a rest. What do you think?
well, JP Morgan broke its ascending channel right here to the downside. That was post earnings, so that got all of the active traders out, and ever since it, every rally has been sold. So, like, I'm sure you're going to catch a very cute long. The first day it touches the 200-day,
The
and
question is there more? I don't know if there is. Like, you're not buying any of these? That's my question.
I
I
haven't
haven't
bought
touched
them.
them yet.
No,
Yeah.
it looks like just today was the first down day for Goldman. Like Goldman, just broke. So, Goldman just and it didn't even really give you a signal.
Oh
It
my
just
God, it looks
broke
like
out of
it's going
nowhere.
to the 50-day like on an express train. That thing
Yeah,
I was
looks
not
like it's going to go
touchable.
here. Yeah, now you have a gap. You have a gap and go to the downside where it looks like it's on the lows of the day. You have a high, you have a lower high. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing gets to at least here before you even look for a Q trade, which would
Same
be
page. All right, glad I asked.
884. But yeah, the financials definitely look like they're going to be out of play for a little bit. Let's see.
So
Let's go back to the spies for 1 sec. Spies look fine. Spies held the mid range again. I found myself trading the indices sometimes when you get, volatility like we had this week. Are we going to hold mid level to then go? And I would think with the Fed on Wednesday, they're not going to gun the market into the Fed just because you can't ask for rate cuts if you're at all-time highs. It's a little disrespectful. But anyway.
Everyone knows we're not getting rate cuts this time anyway, right? It's just not about to happen.
Right. So we'll see, does this inside range hold? And if it does, then at least the market won't, be the reason why something doesn't go up or down. It'll just be the stock. Do we have Mike back? Let's see if we can hear him.
Am I back? All right, guys, we need to talk about silver. We're getting our audience is all in a frenzy because SLV is up 40% year to date. Should we just sell everything and buy silver, Scott?
Not right now. Maybe back here when it was in a 6-week little range and getting ready to break above 49 and a quarter. That was, sell everything and buy silver. Maybe here. Now it's just trending above the 8-day and it's getting more dangerous. It's just I'm not in it, but I'm also not short it. Like there are some guys who are looking for a top and then they just keep shorting it and they hate the world. I don't like to live my life hating the world.
So
But this has been strong, and I don't know where it's going to go. But at this point, most people that own silver and gold, the funniest thing is they own the physical, and they're real guys, and they've been accumulating it for 10 years. And I've been trying to pry it out of their portfolio to trim some, and they don't want to even pay taxes. So the whole market's cornered, that you have these guys that have been buying it for 10 years that are like up so much money, and they don't want to sell it because they don't want to pay taxes, but they have to sell some. And then you have the shorts that are in there thinking they shouldn't go higher, and they're fueling it. And it's just going, and this trend has been strong. And until, it is parabolic, but, it's not 90 degrees yet. It's getting close. It's almost 90 degrees. Maybe another big day like this on, next week, and you can get a cute short. But for me, I can't buy it now, and shorting loses money. So I'm just kind of watching it. What are you doing there?
So I love shorting parabolic moves. In fact, in front of Scott, I once shorted TLRY over 300. The bar was like $50 and said, today it's going to be red. And it really went red. I love these, right? But I've lost, enough money through the years. I'm careful how I do them. So I'll tell you the only way I'm doing it, not macro. I am waiting for fervor, insanity. I'm waiting for RSIs to get extreme. I'm laying into it, which I did at SLV 85. I'm looking for a signal. Like there was a moment in time, it was last week, something to do with like Israel. I don't remember what it was, but there was a geopolitical event, right? And stocks went down and gold and silver did not. And I said, guys, we're at like 87, 88 relative strength. This is your signal. There's at least about to be a pullback. And I shorted the hell out of SLV between like 85 and 84. That day it went to like 80 and 78. And here's the key. I don't try and be smart and say that's the top, because every time I do, I get murdered because they go back up. So I covered like 60, 70%, and it bounced all the way up, and I'm like, why didn't I cover it all? Yesterday or the other day, SLV, silver, comes back to like 82. I covered most. I saw it hit 87. Me and Kara covered our trailer and our short and said, there'll be another moment. This morning, someone asked, do we short it into 100? I said, no. I said, everyone's thinking that. So it's going to blow. Silver's going to blow right through 100 because it's such an obvious trade. It's going to scream higher. It's going to squeeze, and then we'll have another short. So I'm only looking for parabolic moments. And 1 second, I got to quiet Rick down. And I'm not going to touch it without those parabolic moves. So in other words, I'm looking for 90, 95 RSI type insanity, because I don't need to, I don't need to be put on the ground. I'm too old. So these I stay away from till I feel like it's maximum fervor insanity. And we're not there yet because everyone's looking to short it right now. It's usually when they're giving up. So this round, I am flat, thank God. Made some money on SLV from 85 to 78.
That's what traders do. You carve out surgical moves until it tells you there's more. And right now it keeps holding the 8 day until it doesn't hold the 8 day. You up here, that's how extended it is. You're going to get another cute stretch short, but it doesn't mean it's going to continue. You just have to take it.
This might be a good lesson for traders on the short side, because I did this. So I shorted SanDisk not yesterday, the night. So it's Friday, Wednesday night. I was shorting as high as 510, 512, 515, right? And I'm not going to say like I went to sleep comfortably, but I was like, I really believe in this. We're there. We're at 88 RSI. I hope it opens up another 20 tomorrow. I'm going to be in some pain, but I'm going to lay into it. It's not going to be like my SMCI short, but I'll make 30, 40 points. Anyway, never even got back there. It opened down at like 500 or 505. But my point is, I saw the 480s like 5 minutes after, right? The open. I was up like 35 points. It's a category killer. They're earning a ton of money. I covered. It went down another 20 quicker than I can pick my nose. Now, follow me. A lot of people would be pissed off. An hour later, it was green and back over 500. Same thing with silver. When you are shorting these parabolic type moves that are leadership moves, I have a rule. Unless you are smart enough to know the absolute top, take your profits. Don't try and get the exact bottom, because you'll get burnt. So SanDisk was the same to me as covering silver. And that's kind of my rule that saved me, because a lot of people are looking for that top. I've shorted Nvidia the past 2 years and made a lot of money. I'm always long 90% of the time, but I have shorted it, but I'm never dumb enough to think I got the top and it's never coming back. So that's like a straight and fast rule with me. Leadership stock, earning money, huge liquidity. If I'm up on it, unless I think the market's crashing, I'm covering at a certain level.
Yeah, there's much more money to be made playing the real trend, which is to the upside, versus looking for cute shorts as a trader. That's what most people should realize, that, a move like Emron, MU and SanDisk, they made people gazillions, from the long side versus cash flow trades to the short side. So
like my SanDisk is cute, but Immunome is not cute. Immunome is life-changing, right? So Scott's right. I mean, finding yourself something you believe in and actually investing in it more than a week, that's how you make real money. Hell, if you bought Micron 2 months ago, you changed your life too.
No, well, this Micron right here, like, a lot of times, Mike, you post this with every little lesson that I do. You're always talking about the gap trading, right? Well, this is a gap trade. This was post earnings right here. The next day, you could have bought versus a 246 low, went on vacation, and it's been above the 8 days since. That is the lesson from the post that Mike
keep raising your stop.
Yeah, just keep it with the 8 day. Never broke the 8 day. So this was your buying it this day versus 246. That's your defined risk, and it's been a real trade, not a cute trade. The real money was made long and not looking for $6 to the short side. But traders who go home flat overnight and don't carry swings and maybe not even trade for a living, there's ways to make money both ways. But there's a lot more money finding the real trend.
I always tell people, if you are not willing to hold stock overnight, even a little bit, I get it. Some people are just day traders. But if you ever want to change your life and make real money, unless you're trading a book with $20 million or $100 million and you're that type of day trader, you can never outperform a great swing trader because you can't create wealth. Micron took more than overnight to go up the last 200 points. So there is something to be said about finding a stock to invest in and staying in it more than a day or two.
Okay, have you guys talked about? Did you talk about Nvidia when I had my little absence before? Okay, because it seems it seems like Micron, SanDisk, Western Digital, they sort of have those parabolic earnings estimates like Nvidia had 3 years ago. Does it feel like Nvidia has just been left behind? And is that a buy signal? Because I feel like people don't talk about it anymore.
Someone said it on CNBC yesterday, and it was really well said. They said something's got to find a medium. Either we're about to top, right? Micron's coming in, and Nvidia is going to roll over and completely break down. I mean, it's come close a few times. Or Micron's going to slow down, and Nvidia's got to play catch up. But the extremes, when Micron and Western Digital and Seagate are living off the growth provided by Nvidia, it can't continue like this for too much longer. Here's the difference. I want to make this clear. Remember when Nvidia killed it and raised estimates and then killed it? It didn't move to this degree this quickly, right? Look at like SanDisk. Nvidia, you can't find a spot where Nvidia had that percentage move that quickly. The market catches on to these things, right? Robots catch on to these things. So everything's happening quicker. So my point is, I'm not saying Micron is topping, right? And it's cheap. Anyone that's been in the business like me a lot of years knows Micron was trading at single-digit PE. It's not even expensive now. It's been re-rated because it has growth for the first time, because it's always been a commodity company since the 90s. So that's why they're re-rating it, letting it go higher. Let me give you an example so the audience understands. Apple traded at 15 to 10 times earnings for about a decade. And then one day, they decided to call it a software services company rather than a handset company. And all of a sudden, they could re-rate it and make it 25, 30 times. That's what's happening to Micron.
By the way, that was Carl Icahn, remember? He came in there, he bought the shit out of it and kind of, made the narrative, made them do buybacks, did the whole spiel. So yeah, it was a re-rating. So that's kind of what happened.
I think that's obviously what's happening with Micron and SanDisk, but we're in 26. At some point, everyone's got to look into 27. And the comps are going to be impossible because no one's ever grown at this rate. So my point is, I don't know when, but clearly there will be a parabolic short. And these earnings calls will be a focus. Now, I'm not saying they're topping now. They're great trades, right? You make 20 points a day on some of these. I've shorted Micron and made a lot of money the last couple of weeks and been long. But I do think at some point this year, these are going to top out because they're pricing in a lot and they're cyclical and there's no way they're going to have this growth. They're not advanced with technology. I know like to say they are, but a lot of it, And everyone likes to say memory is, no longer a commodity. It's, it's something of value. The bottom line is when production comes up to what demand is, there's going to be some sort of crash in these. But, if I have to be long them before that happens, fine. 27, I don't think will be a good year for these guys.
It's a long way away. Right now we're in January.
Western Digital, what I should say is Sanders and Western Digital report next week. One would think naturally they'll sell off on earnings. If they do, I'll probably be a buyer underneath because they're going to say nothing but amazing things. So if we get epic sell-offs, just off sell the news events like we've seen in Nvidia, they'll probably be buyable, frankly.
Oh, this is Nvidia right now. It keeps getting rejected into this. I actually went out today and I bought the 192.50 calls for next Friday, thinking that, maybe it finally gets going out of this, but who knows? I won't be in the shares because the shares aren't showing you that you're getting sustainability yet. But it's been here for what, 6 weeks? See
when it broke down to that 170 area?
Yep.
We bought a bunch of stock. I was actually pretty aggressive and went back to 185, 190, and I sold most of it. And I'm just sitting on a little bit of shares, just sitting here because I don't want to get killed with options trying to guess, but it's definitely stuck. And Michael, you're right. Either it's got to play catch up or Micron and Sanders and Western Digital. These guys are about to come in, but the extremes are a bit much for these guys.
All right, Michael. What questions with other names?
All right, we need to talk about Tesla, by far the most beloved stock among the T3 Live universe. Now, we always know Tesla always has a crappy quarter. Half the time it goes up. So, what should we even be thinking about right now with Tesla?
When's Tesla's 28th? So what's that, next Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Well, you just had your oversold bounce. So now I would say it probably hangs in here until then. And then it's really, obviously everyone knows it's about the autonomous driving. It's about robotics. It's not about car sales. So depends on if Elon's really messed up on the call. Maybe he's a little loopy.
I was about to say, let's just say it what it is. If he's not on heavy lithium and hasn't drank too much and didn't take ecstasy and he's actually speaking better, there's a shot the stock goes up. The problem is these conference calls like last one was rough. You just press sell and short it. Because Tesla's all about narrative, right? What Scott just talked about, we all know doesn't exist yet. It's about the narrative. So let's face it, if one of the smartest men in the world could present a little bit better, no one ever, accused him of being a great public speaker. If he can really narrate the story again, bang, it'll go off because that's how it works. So it's up to how he conveys and how he acts on the conference call. That's probably because car sales are going to suck. But I don't have to do any deep, dark research there. And robotics is still a bit away. And robotaxis, he's not exactly killing it yet. It's slowly coming out. So this is really about him and having a concrete, cohesive presentation that people can get excited about.
And depending where it is, if it hovers in here and gets really tight, that'll be nice ahead of earnings next week. If it all of a sudden continues to the upside, it's going to be harder to go up afterwards. If it comes to the downside, then at least you know that maybe you could be, and if you're on options, you'll have a pivot point here where if it gets above 452, 454, there's room to the gap. So it all depends on where we are Wednesday, depending on, and then, like you said, the narrative and how well he explains himself or not.
In fact, I want to mention something just while we're saying this, just for people watching this, because me and Scott may have different audience for all I know, but it's important to know. You have a bunch of schmucks out there who've been shorting Tesla forever, right? Getting killed because they're telling you it's overvalued. Well, that's not what makes the stock go up. Narrative is what makes the stock go up. And you don't have to be smart to know that. So I encourage everyone to understand certain stocks are driven by fundamentals, certain by narrative, certain by the CEO, certain by hype. And understanding hype and narrative can last for years and kind of make you bankrupt because you think it's an overvalued company. Tesla is plain and simple, all about narrative and feel good America when he's friendly with Trump. And one day people will care that their car sales suck and Optimus is taking too long. But for right now, they don't. So understand it's all about narrative. It's not about fundamentals.
And this is the weekly right now too, where it's still, it's still in the same place kind of where it was back here in 2021. So just like in Amazon, Tesla has not, taken off and gone up, the last 4 years in a row. It's been, it's been a crazy accumulate waiting for the narrative of robots. And, like he said on 2 calls ago, he's like, it's kind of like the horse and buggy. He's like, gas guzzling cars is going to be like a horse and a buggy at some point in the next few years. And that's when it'll take out this area and be a 650
If
stock.
he ever
But for
gives
now,
a date, like if he can give you a defined date to grasp onto that is within reason, I think it'll take off. I think that's what someone should always look for. Listen, Optimus, here's a date and here's a showcase. And it's not just a brouhaha showcase where I'm going to put some silly robot that dances and then falls down. It's, we are talking to this company about sales, and this is how you're going to be able to actually buy them. And this will be the initial price. I think then it goes. But we need something a little bit more concrete from him besides, his normal conference call.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna ask you guys one final question, but first, I am having all kinds of. All right, Alpha Team VTF open houses next week. There's a link down in the description below, so go down there, click, enter your info, and you could be with Scott next week. So, guys, most important question: who's winning the Super Bowl? We need your
going,
picks.
so I'm excited.
Oh, you are going? Who do you want to be in the Super Bowl?
I really like to. I'm having fun watching Darnell and the Seahawks. I'm just enjoying them. So I'm kind of going Seahawks.
All right, I like the Seahawks too. I can root for the Patriots, so I think the Seahawks is a good spot to root for. Obviously, you know who loves the Patriots, so I can root with him. Who is that, Michael?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Well, poor Noy is a huge Patriot guy.
But I have to say, I like May. Like he's a fun quarterback to watch. I really like him. It's May, right? What's his first name?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah,
definitely.
I kind of like him. Anyway, it's funny. I'm going to tell you the truth. It's an inner circle member that had an amazing couple years, and he's like, "You're coming," and I'm like, "I can't let you take me to the Super Bowl." Anyway, he convinced me, and he's taking me to the Super Bowl. So, Super Bowl.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, we hope you had fun. Everybody, thanks Scott and David down in the chat. So, guys, yes, this was very enjoyable. Everybody, good luck out there
Thanks
next
for
week.
including me today, guys. I appreciate
Definitely.
it.
Of course. It's always good to host the king. And again, guys, Alpha Team VTF open houses next week. Link is down in the description below. Go click. All right, everybody, have a good day.
Have a great weekend.